In this first section, let's talk about computers. Let's break it down and get rid of some of the computer myths, get you a little bit over your fear of computers. So we'll talk about what a computer is, how it works, and then we'll look at some of the different components of a computer, and we'll kind of break down how this is going to interact with our software. Let's first off look at some of the computer myths that you may have heard and break those down. The first one is computers are hard to learn. Well, really, when you think about it, learning the basics of a computer, how to work with it and interact with it, really takes less than a day. And most of the computers today run very user-friendly software that helps get you up and running very quickly. Another myth is that the Internet is a mystical place. Yeah, right. Anyway, the Internet is really simply just a group of computers that are hooked together over telephone lines. You can dial in through your telephone using a modem, and that modem then hooks you up to this set of computers where you can go from one computer to the next. So the Internet is really just a place for you to connect into and gather a lot of information. Another computer myth is that computers can do anything. I hear this a lot by end users, but really computers are really designed by humans, and that means that they can only do what we design them to do. Remember, a computer is an electronic animal. All it can do is turn on and turn off and then be controlled through software, which is what we're going to learn how to program in this course. Another computer myth, I can't type, so I can't learn to use a computer. Well, typing skills are actually very easily acquired. There are training classes that you can go to at the local colleges. There are software packages that you can buy to put on your computer to help you type. I actually know a lot of programmers who really aren't very good typists. Another myth is if I right mouse click too much, I'll go blind. Yeah, right. Okay. Also, a lot of people say, well, hey, I'm afraid of mice. I can't use a computer. Well, the mice are really just an electronic animal. They're not going to get you. A computer is nothing more than an electronic machine. It means it's made up of electronic switches. Now, electronic switches really only have two states, on and off. And this is how a computer works. It works through this binary language. Binary meaning two, and that means that there's two states. A 0 is off and a 1 is on. Now, by turning switches on and off in the computer, of which there are millions of switches, you display things on the monitor, or record information on a hard drive, or respond to the keyboard. So this is really all a computer is about, is turning information on and off. We do this through the use of electronic switches. Now let's break down some of the terms that you'll hear when you're talking about computers. The first one is Central Processing Unit, or CPU. The CPU is really the brains of the computer. It's the thing that tells the rest of the computer how to work. There's also a monitor. This is basically the display mechanism of the computer. It's very much like a TV. A keyboard is what allows you to type letters into the computer, just like the old-fashioned typewriters. A mouse is a pointing device that can click on items. That's how you select something on the screen. CMOS is another term you might hear. It's basically the configuration about the computer. It's usually backed up by a battery, and it's used so that the computer can maintain its state even when you turn it off. A disk drive can either be a removable floppy drive or maybe a hard drive internal to the computer upon which you store information. So even though you turn the computer off, that information will be there the next time you come in. CD-ROM. That basically is a read-only disk, and it stores a lot of information. It's used a lot to distribute software out to someone like yourself who's going to be using the software on their computer. Now, an operating system is very important to a computer. It is a software program that controls all of the functionality of the computer. It basically makes all the pieces work together, the CPU, the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, etc. So there are many pieces of a computer. There is the hardware itself, which is the things that you can touch and interact with, like the keyboard and the monitor. There's also the software, and that's basically what controls the computer internally and lets us do things like word processing. There's another middle ground called firmware, and firmware is basically kind of a cross between software and hardware in that the software is actually burned into a chip on the computer. One of the things you need to think about is the computers that you use in everyday life. For example, an ATM machine. This is where you go to the bank and you get money out of this machine. Well, really, internally, it's actually just a computer. In fact, my company has actually programmed a couple of ATMs. Basically, what happens is you insert your card. The computer program actually detects that a card has been inserted and then makes the screen display another screen that says, hey, I need your PIN number. The computer program is the one that tells the computer hardware how to draw that screen on the monitor. Once you type in your PIN, that act of typing in your PIN means that each key you press is the program itself that's asking for input from the keyboard. The keypad on the ATM is basically the keyboard of that computer, and the program responds to each key and stores the keys pressed in its memory. After entering your PIN number, a main menu is typically displayed from which you can withdraw cash or maybe make a deposit or transfer balances. Again, this is the program itself displaying that menu on the screen. Well, hopefully this has helped demystify the computer a little bit. As you can see, it's nothing more than hardware just like your TV, your coffee machine, or an ATM. Now, all of these components work together and they are controlled by software, which is what's going to be the focus of the rest of this video.